Welcome back. We have with us over the phone Mr. Ramzy Khoury, the journalist, the writer, the political analyst. Good afternoon, Mr. Khoury.
Good afternoon, Dina.
How are you, sir? Let us tackle the Lebanese file, as supposedly there is supposed to be a ceasefire, but though that there is a ceasefire, there were strikes against southern Lebanon again, killing 6 people, and others were injured. There was the retaliation also by Hezbollah, and the Israeli enemy strikes on southern Lebanon does not stop at all. So how do you assess the situation after this truce?
Well, the ceasefire was actually one-sided. Israel never stopped attacking Lebanon after declaring a ceasefire. So a ceasefire is a ceasefire that was declared. Hezbollah tried to commit to it for a short period, if you like, until they realized that this is not going to stop. The Israelis were attacking on a daily basis. Not only through bombardment of villages all over the southern area, south of Litani, but also through the assassination, the latest of which the Israelis intentionally assassinated or attempted to assassinate 2 journalists. One of them died. And this has been ongoing. And this is the thing about the Israelis. The Israelis, when a ceasefire is declared, just like what happened in Gaza before, the Israelis continue to attack. Even in Gaza, the Israelis are militarily active today, despite the fact of the ceasefire. And this comes under the pretext of Israel's right to defend itself. Now, this is a very elastic term that the Israelis use and the Americans support them on. So Israel claims that it is in a ceasefire. However, it takes action whenever it feels that it needs to defend itself, even against an attack that hasn't happened. So the Israelis give themselves the right to attack, say, a village, bombard it, just because they have information supposedly, or they feel that, or they believe that there may be an imminent attack there, or there is some military activity there. So the Israelis go ahead and give themselves that right. The problem with this is that this is, of course, ridiculous and against international law. However, and this is a continuous daily breach of any ceasefire that Israel makes with any party. The Americans support it, and therefore any project that is hosted, if you like, by the Americans, such as this ceasefire that we're talking about, or now the negotiations between the Lebanese government and the Israelis in Washington, D.C. at the White House, all of these projects that are hosted by the Americans are one-sided. They are 100% pro-Israeli. They give the Israelis all of the green light that they need in order to do whatever they fancy. And the other side is the victim of any such process that occurs.
Right. Do you think that what happens in Lebanon have some relevancy to what's happening in Iran? Supposedly, of course, as we said that there has been a violation of this ceasefire in Lebanon. On the other hand, the U.S. envoys are expected to travel to Pakistan in another try to salvage the ceasefire talks with Tehran. And we are expecting more development to unfold, especially that there has been a ceasefire that has been effected. So how do you assess the situation there?
The Americans, the Israelis, and even the Lebanese government have all attempted to separate the two paths. And in order for it not to be a one process that would empower Iran. And the idea is to force the Iranians to lift their hand, if you like, in terms of their support to Hezbollah or other groups in the region, including the Houthis in Yemen, the Iraqi militias that are related to Iran, or obviously the Iranian support for Hamas in Gaza. But these are attempts that have not been fruitful yet. The Iranians have made it very clear that they will not negotiate with the Americans if there is no ceasefire in Lebanon. So they gave the Iranians a ceasefire. And the U.S. President Donald Trump came out and said that this is a ceasefire that we demanded that Israel should actually accept in order to ensure that the negotiations at the White House in Washington, D.C. are going to be fruitful and successful, but it's not accurate. This is just another attempt to try to separate the two parts from each other, but they are interlinked. There is no question about that. And there is a very big problem when they're not for the Lebanese. And I'm going to try to explain this because it's a little bit complicated. For as long as there is territory in Lebanon that is occupied by Israel, the only weapon that the Lebanese have as a nation, including the Lebanese government, is the resistance to that occupation. Otherwise, the Lebanese government is going to America with nothing, with no weapon, with no tool, with no paper, with nothing in their hands. And obviously they are going to fail royally. They will either fail by abiding what the Americans want, which is basically what Israel wants, which is a partnership between the Lebanese government and army with Israel against Hezbollah, a ridiculous notion, but also they will come, or they will come back empty-handed, totally empty-handed. It should be a total waste of time. And therefore, what the Lebanese are now demanding from the Americans, and I'm not sure they're going to get it, is that we are willing to do direct negotiations with Israel if the Israelis actually withdraw out of Lebanon, because there is no way the Lebanese government is going to be able to negotiate with Hezbollah the delivery of their arms to the Lebanese army, and for Hezbollah to become a purely political party rather than a military party as well, without the liberation of occupied Lebanese lands. And the Israelis don't want to do that. On the contrary, the Israeli project is totally the opposite of this. The Israeli project is this. The Israelis want to occupy Lebanon at the invitation of Lebanon. So the Israelis expect the Lebanese government to come and say, we cannot remove the weapons of Hezbollah, and therefore we need your help. Please come into Lebanon to help us. So the Israelis would actually virtually occupy Lebanon at the invitation of the Lebanese government or any Lebanese party. It could be one of the right-wing parties that are in Lebanon, and that may come out and say, please come and protect us, for example. And therefore, Lebanon is under the full control of Israel. So the Israeli project is exactly the opposite of what the Lebanese, any Lebanese, including the Lebanese government that's negotiating right now at the White House in the USA, even they cannot accept such a notion or such a project. So it's extremely complicated, and it's very difficult to pull off. The only thing that can happen is for the Lebanese government to go to America, say clearly that for as long as any Lebanese land is occupied, there will continue to be resistance. Right. Why? Because the Lebanese army cannot defend Lebanon, and therefore the resistance is vital to the defense of Lebanon. And there will continue to be pain inflicted on all of the territory in Israel that is being attacked by Hezbollah for as long as the Israelis remain inside of Lebanese land. Now, and that is what makes sense politically, militarily, and in terms of Lebanese national interest.
Right. Is there a feeling now that is very much felt or obvious to every observer who is monitoring the situation that the United States, the more it becomes involved with Israel, the more it becomes more complicated in Iran? Not speaking about Lebanon, because Lebanon is way more complicated, like you kindly unfolded, but the same thing goes also with Iran. So the more it becomes complicated in Lebanon, the more it becomes complicated in Iran. So do you think a separation, it's time that there could somehow, the U.S. administration could think of a separation of thoughts?
The difference between Iran and Lebanon is this. The Lebanese are seen by the Americans and the Israelis as a very weak government and very weak army. Now, this is basically the notion that Israel sold to the United States of America before they attacked Iran, that the Iranians will collapse immediately. The only thing we need to do is to kill Khamenei, the leader of Iran, and the top leaders of Iran were also murdered in that attack. You're talking about over 40 of them. And therefore, the Iranian regime is going to collapse. And Donald Trump will come out as the biggest hero ever, and there would be government change inside of Iran. If not government change, at least a civil war, turmoil, and Iran is paralyzed for a very long time to come. That was the idea. It didn't happen. It didn't happen because the Iranian regime is much stronger than the Lebanese regime. The Iranian military was able to hold its grounds and continues to influence what happens at Hormuz. And obviously, Iran has also the other groups such as Hezbollah and the Houthis, etc., who can act in other regions. And therefore, the Iranians were able to transform that ridiculous project of the collapse that was supposed to...
Right. On that note, Mr. Ramzy Khoury, the journalist, the writer, and the political analyst, would like to thank you so much for talking to us in